What's up, everybody, and welcome to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham with Hannah Burr. Hello,
Hello.
Hannah. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
How was your fourth?
It was great. I did nothing. It was delightful.
Wow, nice,
Did
nice.
nothing.
I
Well, that's
cleaned
not true. I
out.
did a little bit of house cleaning, but that was about it.
Yeah, I was about to say we actually cleaned out our storage room and
Nice.
threw out a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, that was much needed. My daughters have had this. There was a table in there. They had a bunch of Legos that have been sitting there for, and I'm not even joking, probably years since the pandemic, probably.
Oh, wow.
Because everything was locked down, and the kids were in at home instead of school.
Yeah.
It's like Legos and puzzles and stuff, and it's like, So finally got around to like just cleaning all that up. Anyway. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Interesting discussion I'm pretty sure we're going to have here for Acolyte, episode 6,
Oh, yeah.
entitled Teach/Corrupt. And first and foremost, though, thanks to our patrons, as always. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting us. We just talked about beforehand about our next commentary. We're trying to get that locked up because I know we gotta do Rogue One here very soon. Probably in the next couple weeks. We're looking at that towards the end of July. So I know we're a little behind on those, but we're gonna ramp up here and get some done here. But Rogue One is next, so we'll confirm that probably in the next week or two to get that to our patrons. They can join us while we record that live for them. So going into this next episode, right before that, the only thing that really wanted to bring up was actually there's a skeleton crew bit of news floating around. And it's nothing about the show really, except that finally, apparently, there was I think there was a leak. There was a leak of a Lego set of the ship.
Oh,
And of course, the ship has, the characters, the
yeah.
minifigs on there.
Okay. I'm going to have to look this up.
So the ship is called the Onyx Cinder,
The Onyx Cinder.
which is what Jude Law's character, it's his ship, I'm assuming. And Jude Law's character is either, they said the image might not be as clear to know if it's either J-O-D, Jod, or J-O-G, Jog.
Oh, my. Okay.
Are you seeing it?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. I'm trying to do the whole enhance.
Yeah.
I think it's J-O-D.
Yeah, I think it's Jod. I wouldn't think it would Jog.
No. Oh, that's such a cute little elephant creature.
Yeah, that is Neil, Neel.
Yes.
And then the three other children, human children, are Wim, Fern, and KB.
Yes.
So there was an image of them, of their faces, like released a while ago, but no one knew their names.
But now we have names.
Now the names are on the Lego set, apparently. So there you go. Jude Law, 4 kids. They're trying to find their way home, kind of thing. So
Let's go.
that is Skeleton Crew. We'll see.
Also, apologies if you heard my dog bark. I think she either saw a squirrel or a possum outside. She's nuts.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. It seems like we've fallen into this huge theme of dads protecting their young. Like you have Mando with Grogu, or Jin with Grogu. You have the Bad Batch. Because one thing we've talked about on this podcast multiple times is the theme of family. And Star Wars has a huge theme of family. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, is this a story about how they've all come together? Is this a story where we pick up and it's an adoptive dad of these 5 kids? Or maybe this is a maybe this is a Jedi trying to train kids. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. There's the rumors. Yeah, there's definitely rumors going around whether or not Jude Law is a Jedi or not. But
Mhm.
honestly, it's probably gonna be something like that. I can't imagine it being just a random person, the
No,
smuggler type character. So
no.
yeah, we'll see about that. I think he and hopefully he plays a bigger role, in this combined series, I guess, with Ahsoka and Mandalorian and stuff like that. So that would be cool. Anyway, no release date still on that. Just holidays this year. So yeah, so that would be November-ish, December. So
Right.
we'll see when that happens.
We'll see.
Other than that, it's quiet on the news front. I think there's some obviously upcoming releases that are pretty big. We just had another High Republic novel just drop recently, and then there's another one coming in September. That's Tears of the Nameless, and then of course the Glass Abyss still with the Mace Windu book, October 15th. And then let's see some comics. This past week, Inquisitors #1 dropped. That was the first one. And then High Republic #9. Next week, you got Ahsoka #1, which is the adaptation from the series. And the week after that, Star Wars 48. And then the week after that, Vader 48. And then Darth Maul, Black, White, and Red #4 on July 31st. And of course, can't forget August 30th, Star Wars Outlaws, the game, is finally coming.
Oh,
So you're gonna have a good little, break between Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. So now you can fill it with Star Wars Outlaws, which I will be definitely doing
I was about to say.
for sure.
Oh man.
Okay, let's not waste any time and let's just get into discussions of this, because I will start off and admit that personally, this is, I believe, truly the type of episode that warrants a lot of discussion.
Absolutely.
Because there's definitely going to be, I feel like in a way, a lot of fans that don't like this episode, but then there's a lot of fans that will like this episode. And again, I think those types of episodes, especially like this, where it's just a lot of exposition, a lot of character growth, it warrants a lot of discussion because there's a lot going on. Now, whether you decide or not that is relevant, that's where you got to have the arguments and the discussions, I feel like. So I personally came, when I watched this episode twice, and I watched it first time with the family. When it ended, I was like, I don't know. And I'm glad we actually waited a couple days to film this, because I watched it again today. And after my first viewing, I was very much thinking for a while that, okay, if I watch next week's episode, which will be coming out, episode 7 coming out Tuesday night, if I watch the next episode, I'm basically going to be judging whether or not this episode was relevant or not. Like, could I skip episode 6 and go from 5 to 7 and not miss anything? Because my mind at first was like, absolutely. I don't think I needed to know that episode. It was nice.
Really?
Oh, yeah. But I don't know if I needed that episode. But I watched it again, and I tell you what, there were a couple things in there that I felt were relevant, especially one that I don't think, I kind of don't think that you will be thinking the same thing.
I just pulled up
So,
my notes.
I have, I have mixed feelings about this one, to be honest. I think
Okay.
ultimately it won't matter. I just don't know. Here's the thing. The biggest knock I have on it, to be honest, is I felt like we should have gotten something. I think they missed an opportunity to give us a little more tease of what happened on Brendock, because we didn't learn anything more about that
Right.
yet. We learned more about the stranger and less about what happened with Brendock. So now I'm at the point where it's like, okay, well, the Soul May stuff, that part you can skip over because nothing really happened. And then, but the stranger OSHA stuff, that was, I mean, it was, there was more there than, again, I think there was more there that lent itself more for the history of things, not necessarily the present. So I'll get more into that here in a second, but I'll let you kind of go where your overall thoughts were.
So I've only watched it once.
Okay.
And I'll still say the same thing I've said this entire time. The jury's still out for me with regards to whether I like the show or I don't. There are definitely aspects I like. There are aspects I don't like. And one thing that was definitely solidified in the last episode is I realized how much better the writing in the last episode was compared to every episode that was before it. That was something that stood out to me.
The writing in episode 6. Okay.
I feel like dialogue especially is just too on the nose. And I can't help but compare it to we're catching up on House of Dragon right now. And the writing of House of Dragon is just brilliant. And I can't help but compare. So that is one thing that I feel like the show is lacking, is better writing. But I think the acting's great, the cinematography's great, fighting's great. The jury's still out on me. I don't think I'm going to actually have an opinion on this season until the very end. But I will say I actually disagree with your first view of this episode. I think this episode is absolutely crucial, both from the Soul and May point of view and also from the stranger and OSHA's point of view. Because this is the episode we've been waiting for so long. We're finally getting some more teachings about the Sith. We're finally learning a lot more about that. And I agree with you there. At first, when I was watching it, I thought, well, what's the point between Soul and May, besides May failing to kill him? But then there's that throwaway line where he says, I'm going to confess to the council. And then I want to know how he knew May was not OSHA. And why didn't he turn her in? Why did he choose to run away to talk to May, to try to get OSHA back? Like, I feel like this is his descent. I feel like, I don't know, this episode made me think so much. And you're right, it's an episode that warrants a huge conversation because there are so many things that have been thrown at us. Yes, it is very exposition heavy, but I feel like it's all so important.
Okay. Well, let's go on the stranger side, stranger and OSHA first.
Right. Sounds
because that to me was the most interesting. And I guess the thought has always been, I feel like this whole week after episode 5 was that, the twins are now one's going to turn good, one's going to turn bad. And that's where it's kind of going in a sense. I feel like it's kind of going there. But, so what I got out of their conversations, the stranger and OSHA, I don't feel like we learned, again, all that much about OSHA. You know, it's been said this whole time that she left the Order or the Jedi. You know, I guess it seems like the Stranger's trying to push her to admit that maybe the Jedi let her go instead of her leaving willingly. I don't look. There could be more there. I just don't feel like there's more there, and I don't feel like that's really relevant. I think the most relevant thing right now is who is this guy, because he's now claiming he was a Jedi, and he was a Jedi a long time ago. Actually, not a long time ago, a really long time ago. So that to me was the most relevant part of this entire episode, because questions kept floating around, at least to me, was, is he a Sith or not? Where did who trained him or not? Does he have a master or not? And I will say that based on what I learned in this episode, my conclusion right now is that he is a Sith.
Mm-hmm.
My conclusion right now is that he does not have a master, that he is the master.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm about 95% sure that he's Plagueis.
Same. Absolutely. 100%. Especially when he pulled the line of a really long time ago. I was like,
yes.
This is Plagueis. He learned how to live forever.
Yes.
Like, this is him.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of maybe that they could make a twist about is whether or not his master is Plagueis and his master keeps him alive.
I don't think so, because
I don't think so either.
He explicitly says, I'm looking for the rule of two.
Well, true.
Like, he says that, which means...
He does.
So that could mean he wants to kill his master and he's looking for his protege to help do that. Or it could mean he's by himself, which I'm leaning way more towards the latter than the former on that one.
I am too.
Because I think the purpose of May was to be his second, but she failed.
Correct. But again, whether that was a apprentice a pupil that he wanted, that they feel like they're strong enough to kill the master.
Right.
Because that's all that's happening. Because honestly, that's what the master's doing, right? The master's out there usually looking for another pupil that's stronger than the one that they have.
I don't think so. I don't think he has a master. I think the master's already been killed. He's just looking for someone to put under him.
Right. Because I just keep always going back to the title, the Acolyte. Like, is he actually the true Acolyte?
He might be.
You know what I mean? So it's like, but right now, I think it's the Acolyte because the O is still two O's. I still think the Acolyte is revolving around May and OSHA.
Absolutely.
So I do think he is the master. I do think he could be, if he's not Plagueis, man, I mean, he knows how to manipulate life. So, and live a long time. So, and that's interesting to know, because I don't believe, now I could be wrong, you Legends people out there listening to me can tell me, I don't believe in Legends that Plagueis was a former Jedi.
I don't believe he was either. I think.
Yeah. So that would be an interesting twist.
It would be, but we already knew that they were going to stray from Legends, especially with regards to the race of.
Yes, the race of Plagueis, right?
Yeah, we already knew that, because otherwise he would have stood out like a sore thumb.
Yes. Yeah. So that would be interesting if he's a former Jedi, and how long are we talking? How long ago? Obviously there's rumors, there's people speculating that he has a connection to Vanestra Rowe.
Well, yeah, because she kind of freaked out for a second.
Well, and and people are claiming that those are whip marks on the back of his back. Have you seen that?
Yep, and oh my gosh, her whip.
Yeah.
Her whip saber. I was so excited to see that. But yeah, that looks like a whip. So I wonder if because we've already established because of when this takes place, and then when we see her in the books of the High Republic.
Right.
So it could be her.
Yeah, but see, now we're going. But see, we're again. I don't know if I just don't know if I like where this is going in the sense about because he was telling Osha that now he didn't say it. She kind of insinuated. She's like, "What happened to your back?" You know, and he's like, "I was cast out" or something like that. And she said, "Your master," and he didn't say anything, but he kind of let her believe that.
Yeah.
And see, that's what we gotta remember this too. If he's Sith, then he lies, right? So I can't imagine that why would Venestra whip somebody?
I actually have an answer to that, and it's answered in one of the canon books.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's in a High Republic book now that I think about it. Maybe it's not.
Well, she's in the High Republic books.
No,
so.
it's not her. I can't remember which book I read it, but there was a Jedi Master who left the Order because he was forced to kill his own Padawan.
Oh.
His Padawan got hit with a dart that basically controlled her memory, or controlled her. Like, it was this thing immediately took control of her, and she couldn't help it, and she turned to attack her master, and her master was forced to kill her. And he said that the last look that she gave him was one of utter betrayal. And so, like, that lives with him. I'm trying to remember which book I read that in, but that did happen in a book.
So you think it's possible she was forced to whip him?
It's established.
On the basis of what? That he was turning evil? She was fighting him?
He was mind controlled. She thought he was mind controlled. There are a lot of reasons to support that.
So you don't think it's because she was like intentionally?
No, I don't think.
Yeah, because I don't want to go there. I really hope that we don't go there.
We already have. Where is it? We already have an idea that these Jedi did something very horrific, and we don't know what it is.
Well, we don't know that though, and the more and more I think about it, that we'll get to.
Okay.
We'll get to the soul thing, and that's where we'll get to that. Because I'm starting. I am. Well, we'll get to Venestra here in a second too, but let's just stay on the stranger, because I think that. I think ultimately, well, we'll kind of get to the Venestra here, because I do think there is some kind of connection there. It's one of them things, again, when you look at a series, like a television series, a mystery television series, again, there's always that, like we talked about, like the bad guy gets revealed like early on, and that's what happened. But there is also this twist that comes back in the end.
Yeah.
And if you remember, like, we saw Venestra in the first episode, and we haven't seen her really since. And now she's all of a sudden coming back in. So I do think she plays a bigger part in this than what we've been led on. And somehow it seems as though there is some connection between her and Chimere. And because here's the thing, is she's never seen him yet, right?
Right.
So she doesn't know who this is yet. Maybe, I don't know if she ever will, but she's the one that we heard her say twice now, like to tip the scales, something to tip the scales. So there is something, she knows something, and it seems like she encountered this possibly years ago, maybe when Chimera, if that's his name, was a Padawan or a Jedi, and then they faced something that caused him to leave the Order and go choose the dark side or whatever. So, so she does probably know something. Now, again, the OSHA part about flipping, is she going to be dark side? I mean, it seems like that's the path it's going.
And it's possible because we just saw how much rage she really had in her system, how much anger that she had, which I think was very important for us to see, because before it's like, oh, she seems like she has it all together. No, there's still a lot of pain that she has and she hasn't dealt with. So I think that was important to see.
I mean, but again, I think it was, at least I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that part was kind of, and I think at least I feel like we've known a little bit about that already, because we know that kids going in older have a hard time being a Jedi.
Yeah, that is
like
true.
The Jedi eventually if they sense any kind of path, other than a Jedi in the light side, then usually they are let go or reassigned. There are methods of reassigning them to something else other than just being a Jedi. So the fact that she decided to leave, or they let, I don't know, that's, to me, again, I don't know how important that is. But so let's talk about Saul and May then, because
sorry, can I say one more thing about the stranger? First, two things. One, I still can't believe that that's Jason from The Good Place.
Yeah.
My mind is blown on that. Second, I think it's very important that we take a look at the helmet that he fights in. The fact that it's an old Padawan training helmet, which is why it works well against lightsabers, so that the kids don't accidentally thwap each other on the head.
Right.
I thought that was brilliant. But then can we also talk, I also just want to say, he's so powerful if he literally just uses the Force. And if that's truly all he sees through his helmet, whoa. He is a force to be reckoned with. I just want, before we switch to the other storyline, I did want to bring that. Yeah, I wanted to bring that to light. Sorry, I was.
Well, I mean, again, see, the fact that he took out pretty much almost, I mean, he could have killed all 8 masters.
Yeah.
I mean, in a Padawan, a couple knights, whatever. But either way, 8 Jedi against 1. I mean, that's powerful. That's very powerful.
And we can see why Ahsoka would want to train Sabine in that.
Yeah.
Because that's the way that Ahsoka wanted to train her as well. So the fact that they want to do that is nuts. And he's very powerful.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think that was the most relevant part of the episode, about learning more of him, because I think going forward, it's going to be, I don't think there's going to be much there necessarily, except maybe some connection, if there is, to Finestra.
Right. And I think there is going to be a connection. But the other thing was, I don't know about you, but when she put the helmet on her head and we saw it, I immediately felt claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I was just like, and I wonder if that's a way to help fuel the dark side, because it plays on your innate feeling of fear.
Probably.
Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to bring those up.
Yeah. So Saul and May.
Yes.
I think, again, I see some things floating around about, well, how couldn't he know that was May? And when did he know? I mean, I feel like he figured it out once that whole Pip conversation, like, I don't think he felt like she cared about the droid as much as Osha did. So I think and then eventually I think maybe the little critter, I think, told him possibly.
I think that's what happened too. I
Yeah.
think he's like, something's up. And also, Pip's eyes were red instead of white.
Correct.
So I'm sure none of that went missed by Soul. And
Yeah.
it could
I mean, I
be,
think he just figured it out. But
yeah,
again,
his feelings probably blinded him there too.
yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people are like, wow, can he sense it? I mean, he just saw 7 people murdered. I mean, he's trying to gather himself. You can see he's very distraught.
Including his Padawan, mind you.
Correct. Yeah.
Like,
So tapping into the Force and trying to read the thoughts of this person is not really first priority.
no, it is not.
So I can get by that. That's fine.
Same.
But again, I think the biggest thing here was, I mean, it was at least twice, maybe 3 times that he said, I'm going to tell you everything, kind of thing. And again, I just felt like if there was something there was a little bit more there, a tease of something, it would have drawn me in a little bit more. I think that was a missed opportunity because, it seems like we're going to get it the first part of the next episode. Hopefully there's that conversation a little bit, because I think we have to figure it out before we get to the whatever conclusion we're going to get to, which is this fight between, it seems like, Soul and May against Osha and the Stranger now.
Yeah.
And then somehow Vanessa is going to probably be thrown in the middle of that, maybe. But I don't know. So what do you think about this situation with May and Soul?
I was actually really, really wondering if Soul was going to die. There was actually a point where I was like, oh, is she actually going to succeed?
Really?
There was. I mean, I don't put it past them now. And I love Master Soul, but if he's not going to be Plagueis, that doesn't mean he won't turn to the dark side. But if he's not Plagueis, then what's the purpose? Well, like, I know he has a lot of purpose, but you know what I mean. There's nothing at this point in my mind that's going to stop him from potentially being killed. My biggest question is, once he figured it out, the Jedi were almost there. He could have turned her in and gotten answers, but he didn't. He fled with her. And it's like, so I think I still think he's the one who's going to, turn to the dark side. I do think that's going to happen. But I'm just I feel like, I think you're right, but I think part of that I chalk it up to just poor writing. Because as I said before, the script writing is not my favorite. You are right, though. If I had to pick a storyline to follow, it would be Osha and the Stranger. But I still feel like there was a lot said with the Soul May one that I just wonder if we're going to get more of that in the next episode. Because he straight up says, I'm going to tell the council. So I don't think it's unimportant. I think it's important. We just don't know why it's important yet. A lot of this season has been, we don't know why it's important.
Yeah, we don't.
So that's my
Yeah. I mean, I think what we're gonna find out. I think we're gonna find out that Torben. I think we're gonna find out Torben possibly did something, and probably did something under the influence, and didn't do anything intentional. And I think that the Jedi, because there's still this thing about, I don't know if you noticed, there's still this thing about Torben having this scar on his face.
Yeah, and we
the
don't
older Torben. We don't know what happened, and there's still some shots out there of like Kelnaka with the lightsaber fighting him, possibly. So it's like fighting somebody, and it looks like it's on Brendock. So it's like something did happen between them, and I think that it didn't happen willingly. I think it was the witches possibly influencing them to make it look like they did something, and then something went horribly wrong. And I think the worst thing that Saul knows is I think Saul just went with the cover up. I don't think he did anything. I don't think he did anything intentional. But I think it's eating at him that they didn't confess and go to the council, and truthfully tell them what happened. I think they were afraid because maybe they wouldn't believe that they were under the influence and they couldn't help themselves.
But they would know that. They already know that the witches possess that type of power. They would have totally believed them.
Well, they didn't even know the witches were there. Just this group of Jedi knew.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's clear, like, as soon as Torben was overcome, they're like, oh, you can do this. We know you can do this because we're familiar. Like, we know that witches have this power. So it's like, I don't
know. I just don't. I can't. I'm not right now. I'm definitely not going to buy that they intentionally did something evil. I'm not going to buy that yet. Not the way he's acting. The way he's acting is he's acting as if he's going to tell the truth that they covered something up, and they covered something up because they were afraid that one of them may be held accountable to. And then Torben obviously is the one that was wrecked the most, so that is why he did what he did, which was become silent for 10 years so he wouldn't say anything. So so he's involved somehow, like he did something. And when he said we felt like we were doing the right thing, I think he felt like that what they did in response to however they were being attacked, they thought that was the right thing. They thought covering up, they thought separating the twins was the right thing. But in the end, well, they didn't separate the twins because May ended up just surviving and kind of going on her own. But and then Kanaka, obviously he felt like he did whatever he did to isolate himself. But again, Indara and Saul were kind of still out there. It's like, so it's something to do with Kanaka and Torben, I feel like, and Indara and Saul just kind of helped cover it up to protect them. So that's kind of where I'm going right now.
I gotcha, and I can understand that. I also know that Disney is notorious, especially Marvel, for putting scenes in trailers that were never scenes to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue that, but either way, it was a scene. So
yeah, I don't know.
It was intended to be something. Whether they cut it or not, that doesn't. Yeah.
Well, let's just hope that in the next episode we actually get an answer. I would love that.
Well, we definitely will. I mean, I think we will. Here's the thing. So I'm with you though, in a sense. I don't think Saul turns. I definitely think Saul is going to die.
Right. I think Saul's either going to die or he's going to turn. It's one of the two.
Yeah, I think he's going to die. I think this was, and I think to kind of answer your question about turning her in, I think once he found out it was May, I think he realized that the only way that May is the only one that knows where the stranger is.
Right.
So I'm going to blast out of here. I'm going to make her take me to him so we can save Osha. So this is setting up to be just a final confrontation kind of thing, somewhere. So I don't know. That's the thing, is I don't know if Finestra, I don't know how unless she knows what's going on, I don't know how she finds out where they are.
Right.
So I don't know. See, so I'm a little torn. I know people want this connection. I'm a little torn on whether or not that connection actually exists or not.
No idea.
Because now here's the thing is, again, there's these kind of concerns still going out there about, does this retcon episode 1, when Ki-Adi-Mundi says the Sith have been extinct for millennia, because now they have 7 bodies that are laying there, with a lightsaber wound, so they know that something happened, but it's still not convincing enough to them, I think, to say that this was a Sith.
Yeah, because it made in the beginning of this season, it's made very, very clear that they know that there are people in the corners of the galaxy that practice the dark side of the Force. But you can practice the dark side of the Force without being a Sith. We've
Correct.
seen that
Yeah,
over and over and over again. So I don't think in their minds there's enough evidence to declare that the Sith have returned.
that's right. And even that Padawan was suggesting possibly that what was this Master Soul that did this, right? Because
Right.
he's the only survivor that walked away.
Yep.
Typically, that's kind of the evidence, kind of points to that whoever the survivor is it possible that they're the ones that did it? So, maybe they turn around and try to say that maybe he fell and he's turned out or whatever. But so I think where we're heading is that May hears what happens, and I it's hard for me. I mean, I think the logical thing is Osha turns to the dark side, May returns to the light. Well, doesn't return to the light. The thing about it is she's always been evil, if you think about it.
Yeah.
She's never been trained by the Jedi. She's never been so her all of a sudden turning light and turning like, oh, you're right, I did all these bad things, I'm now gonna, I don't know if I can go there yet.
I don't think she'll necessarily become a Jedi, but I think she could potentially be more of a neutral character. Be more of like, hey, I was wrong. We were wrong about this. The stranger put X, Y, and Z in my mind. I was brainwashed. And then when
that part makes sense, but the part about Brendock though.
I mean, she could hear it from Master Soul and then be like, oh my gosh, that's actually what happened. And then she wants to help her sister before the stranger takes advantage of her. So
helping her sister would be the only motivation.
I think that's it. I don't think there's light side, dark side. It's just helping her sister to get away from this guy who is very, very dangerous.
Yeah. And so I do think, at least if I were the showrunner of this thing, I think it would be pretty incredible to see, these sisters having a little lightsaber fight.
I think that would be great. I also think, I wonder if the next episode is going to be Master Soul tells his side of the story. The stranger says, oh, this is what happened. Because I don't doubt the idea that May viewed it from a certain POV and the stranger fed into that. And so he's going to try to swing Osha into that. Meanwhile, Master Soul says, no, this is what really happened, May.
Yeah,
so
I think we'll get
stories.
You're right. I think we'll get. Well, I think we'll get the description or whatever happened to Brendock, and I think just the stranger. I think we're just going to see more training, like him or manipulating.
Which is why I think we're going to get two different sides of the story in the same.
Yeah,
episode.
but think about it is I don't know how you. So you think he's involved in what happened to Brendock?
No, I don't think that. But I think he's enough in the dark side of the Force that he can read minds. Like he's kind of established that in the fight, and so I think he took what May saw and just spun it out of control. So we're going to get May's point of view of events through the stranger to Osha, and then we get Master Soul's side as he explains it to May. I think that's what we're going to get in the next episode.
Okay.
So we'll get what May saw, but he's using that to turn Osha while Master Soul says this is what happened.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So I do think I actually do think that the witches, unfortunately, I think they are dead. I think they're all gone.
I think they're all gone.
I don't think Anastasia or even Coral are alive.
Bye, Felicia.
I mean, it wouldn't be out completely out of the ordinary if one of them was still alive. I guess. I mean, that would be a cool twist, I guess. But I don't think I think we're past that at this point now. You know what I mean? Like,
I think we are.
Now that he is who he says he is, a former Jedi and all this stuff. I mean, that's a whole different story now. But it is interesting, and I don't know if there's time to figure it out in these last 2 episodes, but how did he come across May, or when did he come across May? I think that has to be answered at some point.
That does.
But
that does.
I don't know when or how. Okay, so real quick, one thing that I thought was extremely important that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. And
I've written down.
Huh?
No, go ahead.
Do you have something else written down?
I had something I was thinking of, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Well, I think one of the most relevant scenes, if not the relevant scene in this episode. Again, to me, if I were to come back and say, now this episode, this scene is the reason why this episode matters. And it was the scene where Venestra is talking to the senator.
Oh my gosh, yes. I was like, oh my gosh, politics again? We're back to politics. And the fact that the Jedi could lose favor, I mean, like, it raises the stakes as to what they did.
Yeah. Yes, in a sense, yes.
Because apparently I think to me it revealed, the Jedi aren't that good with the Senate.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is I think, again, it was like a 30 second scene, but something you can kind of brush aside. But if you really pay attention to what they're saying, and basically what they're saying is there's a senator named Rayencourt that is trying to get other senators to create this kind of review board for the Jedi.
To hold the Jedi accountable.
Yes. Like they're acting too much on their own without any oversight. And the senator, his name's Chewat, that Vanessa is talking to is obviously in favor of the Jedi and saying, no, don't worry about it. You guys are transparent. But that's the thing. We're obviously realizing that they're not transparent.
No, it's needed. It's so needed.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like this to me, I'm telling you right now, in my mind, this to me is the beginning of the downfall of the Jedi.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm shocked there wasn't a review board in place in the first place. Like, I'm very, very shocked that there wasn't something holding because the thing is, the Jedi, anybody who has power needs to have accountability. Like, that's like, that needs to happen. And the fact that I didn't write it down, but I was thinking about that because I was like, we're back to politics. And I was like, no one's holding the Jedi accountable? Like, since when has that ever been okay?
Yeah. Well, and I'm wondering, and part of me keeps wondering why now, because the Jedi have been around for 25,000 years.
Yeah, why now?
Right? We know that now. We know the Republic has been around for most of that. We don't know exactly when, but if not at least that, maybe more than that. There's been some kind of form of Republic government.
Right.
And I mean, I'm assuming, I'm assuming the Republic is older than the Jedi. So for 25,000 years, are you telling me that no one's ever questioned what the Jedi was doing?
Or no one was brave enough to say, hey, we need to hold the Jedi accountable?
I guess. I guess they do so much good. They're not worried about if they're doing anything bad. And And that's the thing too, is they're obviously going to make mistakes.
Right.
Are they going to do something as egregious to cover it up, which is what they seems like happened on Brendock? So what I kind of sense happening is that I kind of have the feeling that whatever happened on Brendock is going to be revealed in the public.
Mm-hmm.
And this senator is going to gain favor and get this thing established to where the Jedi are now being, overseen or whatever. They're being held accountable for everything they do. They have to report to the Senate now, whereas before they were their own entity.
Which we see them sort of do that in the prequels. We don't. It's not explicitly stated, but there are times where we see it hinted that they have to.
Oh, they are at that point.
Yeah,
they are at that point.
But in the books, it is very, very obvious and very, very clear that before they do anything, like in Master and Apprentice, before Obi-Wan's like, we got to do this, and Qui-Gon's like, we can't, not yet. We have to talk to the Jedi Council, and then they have to talk to the Senate, and then we figure out what we do from there. So, yep. No, I agree with you. It's huge. But my question is, why now? Like, why now? What started that whole campaign of holding the Jedi accountable?
That, again, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm just reaching here, but
you think it was already leaked? Like,
I think that the Sith had something to do with it.
Oh, smart.
This is the beginning of the end. Yeah. The beginning of the end started with this. I mean, the Sith is the reason why this whole thing fell apart. And it's not that they did make a mistake, but the Sith are now finding a secret way to exploit it and to use politics.
Gosh. It's so obvious because Darth Plagueis, well, we don't know if he's Darth Plagueis or not, but we know the stranger knows what happened, at least from his POV. So he's like, oh, interesting. So he probably fed that nugget of info to somebody. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. That's why that scene is, to me, is the most important thing in this episode.
It is very.
I think it completely connects
the most important.
The stranger somehow with these politicians.
Yeah.
He's already planting that seed, and again, that's why I keep thinking it's Plagueis.
I think I mean I am,
because I think this whole thing started with Plagueis. Is like,
yeah, I'm 98% sure now that that's Plagueis.
Okay, I wonder if I'm now 98 now. I was 95. Now I'm a little further.
I'm 98. I wonder if we're going to see a young Palpatine. That would be interesting.
I think if there's a season 2, I think we will.
Okay, awesome.
I don't think he's alive yet, but I think there could be a little bit of a time jump if they do a season 2, and and then because I agree. I think that Plagueis is the start of this seed, but then I think the next step is, well, how do we get in to start this thing? And Palpatine's the one that says, well, I will be in politics, and then work his way that. I mean, think about it. It's 100-year plan.
It's insane.
It's a freaking 100-year plan.
Talk about the patience of Job.
Yes, right. Yes. And I mean, technically, it's a 1,000-year plan if you think all the way back to Darth Bane.
I was about to say.
But I think that's that right there is the coolest thing about this episode. To be honest, it's weird.
It's important, but I think the other reason why it's important is, even though this show's been getting a lot of slack from viewers, I wonder if they'll have a couple of throwaway lines in later episodes to help us realize, oh, this is the start of the fall.
Yeah.
So theoretically, this could be a 1-season show, which I hope it's not. I hope
it's not either.
2. But it could be they already figured out how they're going to close it, and this episode was so key.
Yes. Well, and I think, again, it's like, I go back to what I said at the very beginning of this is why you have discussions, because I don't think a lot of people see it that way, and honestly, we could be wrong. I mean,
we could
be 100% be wrong. Like that scene doesn't even become relevant at all. But I just feel like it's weird when you have the switching of the twins. You have these two scenes going on back and forth, and all of a sudden you throw in this senator thing. It's like, that seems odd unless it's relevant. And I think it's very relevant.
I think so too. And
Okay.
I wonder if we're going to get a throwaway line later that helps prove its relevancy.
Yeah, maybe. Or like you said, or I think it could be into like a season 2 that it comes back to that. All of a sudden there's like corrupt politicians that are being manipulated by the Sith, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you remember that Raven Court guy that was mentioned? He's the catalyst of it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he's, a Sith one. I mean, he's wanting to be a Sith too. Who knows? I don't think that, but he's definitely getting fed information and possibly knows that the Jedi made a mistake, and that's why he's doing this. So,
dang.
Anyway, I thought that was a pretty important part of the episode.
Thanks for talking that through with me, because I kept on thinking, why do we need to know that the Jedi haven't been held accountable up until this point? Why?
Yeah.
Like, I kept on thinking, like, why is that so important? Why now? And that, boom.
Totally. And again, I think it's possible that, I don't know, maybe nothing has ever come up like this. This kind of corruption, or this kind of mistake. I don't know. Again, we're talking thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
The Jedi have protected the Republic and the galaxy, and I guess they felt like, since they've never done anything wrong, maybe they don't need it. But then as soon as they get the sense that something is wrong, now that oversight is needed. I mean, it's very similar to, obviously, like the Sokovia Accords and like the Avengers, right? I mean, it's like you don't need policing until something bad happens, and now you need policing. Well, they never really had anything. But then again, if they never knew, they never knew. I mean, they could have been doing stuff for years and no one knew.
Yeah.
But it is clear in episode 1, by the time we get to episode 1, or even episode 2, because if you think about episode 3, when Obi-Wan was telling Anakin, basically the council wants you to investigate Palpatine. He's like, well, that's treason.
Yeah.
Like, it's treason because we're doing something that we're not supposed to be doing, that no one knows about. And it's clear that Palpatine also, the Chancellor, has the ability to appoint somebody to the Jedi Council. Like, that's...
Yeah.
So they have the power. They are definitely... The Senate or the Chancellor's office is definitely in control of the Jedi at this point. So this is the start of that, which is, again, pretty awesome to see. Like, not only the Sith, but the corruption inside the Senate is really how this thing started and ends. So, anyway, but it's cool.
Very, very cool.
Okay, so I don't know. I still overall, I thought it was good. It wasn't, it wasn't great, but
jury's out. Jury's still out. It's not.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, it becomes a more relevant episode as these last 2 come to us.
Especially if this, I think it will be. Especially if this is the only season they do, that scene is going to be so relevant.
Yeah.
I hope it's not, but.
Man, yeah. If this is the only season, it's going to be. Yeah, I don't know. There's so much more there that they can do.
There is.
So hopefully. And apparently they're not really paying attention, or at least allowing the negative reviews to influence them, hopefully.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it comes down to viewership.
It does.
So.
Well, and the fans demanded Clone Wars to get finished, and they did that. So if enough fans say they want this to go on, maybe they'll listen to them.
Here's hoping.
All right. Well, we'll see. Episode 7 will drop Tuesday night. We'll be back next week to talk about that. Let us know what you thought about episode 6. Let's see. We do have some comments, I think.
Awesome.
From some of our reactions. Yeah, there was some stuff on your reaction. Let's see. So we had me see. We had Brandon say, I think Venestra is an almost fallen Jedi. My biggest question from this episode is why and when did she send Master Soul to that forest planet the other time? I read that earlier. I don't remember her saying that, sending Soul there before.
I'll have to rewatch it.
Could be wrong, but I don't know about that. And then Draconis Rex says, anyone else connect a stranger's scars to a light whip?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Brandon says, no, but I'm down with this. Venestra has been bothering me since episode 2.
She has also rubbed me the wrong way.
Okay. And then Thrawn says, I didn't make that connection, but that would be really interesting. I hope you're right now because that would make sense why Venestra wants to keep everything quiet. And then Thrawn says, I don't buy Osha falling to the dark side after one episode. I feel like if this does happen, it should have been built up more. I like the idea that the planet Chimere and Osha are on had cortosis mines, and that's where he got his helmet and gauntlet from. Only 2 episodes left, and I'm concerned that they haven't got enough time to wrap everything up without rushing it, unless there is a season 2.
Well, who knows? Maybe one of the next 2 episodes is going to be 2 hours long.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely could get a little more longer on that. So, yeah, I think the patrons are leaning towards Venestra being. And then Brandon later says, I hope to see Darth Tenebros next episode and have Darth Plagueis cause the cave-in at Chimere's hideout and kill Darth Tenebros.
Ooh.
So, maybe thinks, I guess, are you leaning towards Chimere being Darth Tenebros? That's possible. That seems like what you're saying.
Possible. I still
so
think
that means that Plagueis is out there still.
I still think he's Plagueis.
I think he's possibly Plagueis. So let's see let me see if I got any YouTube comments here. I failed to do our comments from our last episode first. I was going to start doing that. Let's see, comment from last week's episode. I'm switching. It's from Brandon. The switching of May and Osha will be a Padawan exchange program. Osha will train with Chimere because the Jedi lied to her and left her there because how do you not tell that it's not her? May will help Soul getting rid of Chimere.
I love that a Jedi training exchange program.
And Thrawn says, I love a bit of Star Wars trivia, but always feel under pressure because I'm the Star Wars guy of my family and a group of friends. So if I get something wrong, they never let me live it down.
I feel you on that.
That's my trivia discussion. He says, I agree with all your comments regarding certain fans and people in general being so negative towards the series and a lot of other things Star Wars. I've always loved Inside the Force leans and focuses more on the positive side with any Star Wars content. And although there might be things we don't like, we understand it's art and it's all subjective. I might say writing and acting wasn't very good, but we'll always say that's my opinion. It would never be negative towards the actors, writers, and directors involved.
Yep.
I think there are always things to like in a show or movie. I remember not liking sequel trilogy much at all, but I've gotten back since and rewatched and can definitely appreciate a lot of things from those films and see them in a better light. Keep being positive, Dave and Hannah. We love you for it. I don't understand people that like to watch or make podcasts where they poo-doo on everything. Totally agree. Thanks, Thrawn. Yes. I know. I'll never understand doing this just to complain for an hour or two. You know, it's
at that point, go to therapy.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's like, man, that's a rough life. It's just complaining all the time. So it's not fun. This is fun, talking about it, figuring it out.
That's the fun part.
It is. All right, everybody, let us know what you think about this episode. We will be back next week. It's going to be an interesting next couple weeks, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be.
Yes, it will be. And then, of course, our patrons, we'll let you know when we get this commentary thing going. Thank you so much for your support, as always. If you're interested in supporting the show, patreon.com/inside the force. We got some tiers there and some additional content on Patreon. All right, Hannah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Yep. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week. Have a great week. Go watch some Star Wars. May the Force be with you.